Hello, humans, and welcome to another episode of Gen X Gamer. There is a specter in the air. There's a shadow running around the background of one Karl Jobst, whose career has been shattered into pieces, but not as many pieces as the career as one Jirard the Completionist. And who was responsible for that? Well, in Jirard's mind, it's pretty much Karl Jobst. And he said he was, seeking legal remedies at one point when this whole thing was going about. And man, what would that look like at this point? Let me tell you, because I don't know. I mean, what would Karl do if this guy comes in and basically finishes him off? Because he doesn't have the resources to fight. Not another guy with money. Now, a lot of people are under the false impression that Jirard has no money, is broke, destitute. And no, Jirard comes from money. He was already rich before being the completionist, right? And his family has resources who were the ones controlling the whole charity and what have you. And he's going to come back and say, hey, well, at least the charity got the money, you know. And what do you introduce Karl as if you go back to court, right? If you go back to court, he goes in there and they're going to use this as evidence, this trial, because he's the court order payer, Karl Jobst, or what is it, the losing party, Karl Jobst, the unsuccessful defendant, Karl Jobst. Or liable defendant. I don't know what the correct term would be. But whatever that term is, right? That's what they would use to introduce him in court. And if you go back into court for the same thing, and imagine if he gets the same judge. Jeez. And he looks at him going, you again? What were you saying this time? What statements of fact were you saying that were not true? Now, guys, let's put this into context. Okay, this guy's in Australia. Australian laws are much different, right? But there's certain commonalities when it comes to getting sued, and this is not legal advice of any kind. This is just you and me. We're talking, right? We're shooting the shit here, and just looking at this case going, what could happen to this guy that has been, living by the sword of the word, if you will, on YouTube? Is he gonna, is his career gonna perish in the same way? What is it? You live by the sword, you die by the sword? It could be. I mean, it could be. Because, now when he gets introduced, he's the judgment debtor. I mean, whatever negative connotation you apply to him in legal terms will apply to him because of the court case he lost. Because he lost it. But that's not even the problem. The problem are resources. You have another individual here that has more resources than you that's going to hire top-tier attorneys coming after you. Are you going to fight this? Not if you're smart, right? Because you're already... in American dollars, probably 400 grand in the hole? We don't know yet because we don't know what those attorney's fees are going to be like. But for the sake of argument, if you're already negative 400 in the hole, who's going to represent you? Right? Whoever your lawyer's going to be is going to look at you and he's going to say, buddy, you got to pay me cash up front. Cash money, homie. None of this credit stuff. There's no installments. Because I know anytime Billy Mitchell could come in and take all your stuff. So, what are you going to do? Man, he's got him in the crosshairs now. If he wants to. If he wants to. I mean, if there was one person that should be coping and seething at Karl Jobst, it would be one Jirard. I mean... we talked about it back in the day, and I'm one of the more measured people. I'm talking about the case. I'm talking about what he could be doing or what he did know, what he didn't know, what have you. I mean, there were people on the internet crucifying this guy. There are people on the internet talking about every particular, all his features. I mean, they were talking about what he looked like, about his friends, about his girlfriend, about the way he dressed, about the way he looked, everything else, besides the crime. This guy's career is over. I mean, it is done. This guy can't sell anything on the internet, as far as video games. He got kicked off of video games. I mean, that was a huge fall. Until this point, in the Karl Jobst sphere, that was the biggest L until Karl Jobst, right? Because this is even worse because he's the one being accusatory of all these people doing these things. And now he's found liable more than anybody else, right? More than anybody else. Nobody else has lost a court case like this that I know of. You guys can correct me if I'm wrong. And nobody else has been threatened with legal action from the completionist side other than Mudahar and one Karl Jobst. Now, Mudahar is being more measured, as he well should be. I mean, not that he's going to be sued directly, but just take in mind that if he decides to go after Karl, since that phone call really is what buried him, he should have just stayed quiet. Like, hey, guys, I'm not here to talk about this, do one of those politician moves. I'm not here to talk about those issues, guys. We could talk about that later. We'll have a prepare statements. That's a company matter, that kind of stuff. But he couldn't shut up. And then he regretted his words and they came back to bite him. But that doesn't mean that the things that were said about him were true. We don't know, right? It may appear to be a certain way, but you don't know if his family was pulling the strings behind the scenes. You don't know that he was making those decisions himself. He may have been nervous and just said, yeah, I knew, so he doesn't sound like an idiot. And in reality, it could have been that his family's just pulling the strings. They just told him, hey, you do what you do. We'll take care of this. Don't you worry about this, which tends to happen in a lot of business situations when one person is talented, but they're not specifically numbers guys, if you know what I mean. But we don't know that. We don't know the facts in the case because he wasn't running the charity by himself. And he's in a difficult position because what is he going to do? Throw your dad under the bus? Throw your brother under the bus? Then you sound like a coward. Start blaming your family. So, you got to bite the bullet, take it on yourself. But does that mean you committed a crime? Does that mean that all the statements that were made by Karl about him true? Well, here in America, it'd just be another guy talking smack. But not in Australia, apparently. He could come in with his lawyers, and as soon as he files that lawsuit, all Karl has to do is get on his knees and start saying, where do you want me to blow? That's really what's going to happen because he's not going to have the money to fight it. Not another long, drawn-out battle. What is he going to pay it with? If you're already negative 600 in the hole. He could get away with anything. He could just say, you know what? I'm here just to take your channel. Right? We can settle right now, and I want you off of social media forever. Go get a regular job like I had to. Right? What's Jirard doing now? I don't know. Working in one of his dad's gas stations? Who the hell knows? Right? But he could tell him that. That could be, and if you're in Karl's situation, you say, okay, no problem. If somebody wants your channel and that's all you have, and, the conditions of the settlement is you're off the internet, you're off of social media, or they tell me you can't be on YouTube anymore. Go do it somewhere else except YouTube. That would be devastating, right? And these things are personal. I mean, these guys are not suing Karl because of monetary interest. They know he doesn't have any money. The only thing he has is reach. And if somebody wants to be vindictive in court, they're going to go for what he loves the most, which apparently is his YouTube channel and his social media presence. And if there is a, settlement with Billy Mitchell, That might be in play, right? But what do you think the completionist is going to ask for? Because Billy Mitchell, I mean, he might have gotten some hating comments and stuff like that, but he didn't get what the completionist got. Oh, God, no. Oh, God, no. There was things coming out every day. I made myself, I don't know how many videos I made regarding the facts in the case. Not the case, but the situation. And I was just looking at what was being claimed. I wasn't going and, criticizing his weight, his nose, his beard, which looks like mine now. The dude was getting roasted and crucified. What is a court gonna find when they Google his name on YouTube? Because when you did Billy Mitchell, all you found was Karl Jobst. That's all you found. But when you Google Jirard, it's gonna be a whole new world, a whole new universe of pain. Can you imagine the punitive damages that they're going to award for that? If they find in favor of him? He can ask more than $50,000. That's for sure. Right? Because the judge had no problem with $50,000. And then in the judge's opinion, by the way he sounded, he thought that Billy Mitchell asked for too little. He could have asked for $200,000. He would have paid it. But Jirard would probably be entitled to a whole lot more, because that part of the compensation has no limit, according to what the judge said. Again, maybe the law's changed. I'm not a lawyer. I'm just a guy talking about the situation. But this is insane. If Jirard goes after Karl Jobst, that is his career. Not that it's not already dead, but that could mean his complete elimination from social media, if Jirard wants it to be so. All right, humans, those are just my opinions. Could it happen? I don't know. We haven't heard from Jirard in a really long time. But I'm sure him and others were really paying close attention to this case, because it was a game changer. All right, humans, don't forget to like and subscribe. I will catch you on the next one. Take care.